The Galactic Council chamber erupted in laughter when Earth requested to speak, like a monkey politely asking to address a room full of gods. They didn't know our silence wasn't weakness. It was the calm before a punchline so devastating, it would detonate civilizations. And the man delivering it? A linguist with a thermos labeled sarcasm, in case of diplomacy, pour over. The laughter had gone on for 9 full minutes. In the transvergent seat, where reality folded in 12 dimensions and diplomacy wore the skins of 1,000 species, the representatives of the Galactic Council howled in mirth at the single figure standing in the center. A human. Alone. Commander Elias Grieven didn't flinch. The Sorvanti floated into the air, a translucent cloud shimmering with disdain. Did Earth forget how to kneel? Another burst of laughter echoed. Elias reached into his coat, pulled out a black thermos, and unscrewed the lid with theatrical slowness. The faint scent of burnt coffee crept across the chamber. We've been silent for a century and a half, he said, voice calm, firm. That ends now. By all means, mammal, croaked the Galari, a fungal network pulsating with spore-laced amusement. Enlighten us with one of your war cries. Perhaps grunt and throw feces? Elias ignored the jab. He placed a small, leather-bound notebook on the obsidian pedestal before him. You silenced Earth under the pretense of cultural development. But the truth is simpler. You were afraid of what would happen if we listened too well. The laughter died down. Not entirely, but the first thread of tension weaved its way into the chamber. You speak of fear, hissed the Zevrik, whose voice was carried through a translator submerged in its digestive sac. But your people are infants. You haven't even stabilized dark matter manipulation. And yet, Elias said, flipping open the notebook, we learn how to speak every one of your languages. Fluently. A sudden stillness took root. I was imprisoned by my own people for deciphering a Class 9 interdicted dialect, Elias continued. The one your council used when you condemned us to silence. I was told it was too dangerous to understand. That words can kill. He glanced up. You know what I learned while locked in that cell, surrounded by your languages, your messages, your broadcasts? The Xantari clicked their mandibles. We did not authorize such violations. No, Elias agreed. You just assumed we wouldn't figure it out. He lifted a page. I won't give a speech. I won't plead. I'm here to demonstrate what happens when a species doesn't evolve weapons, but evolves language. The Varnix delegate shifted. The last time their species had faced a dialectic challenge, their leadership structure collapsed in 6 days. Elias took a breath, then spoke one sentence. 7 words. In a tone not heard in this galaxy for over 5 millennia. The air rippled. Light twisted. Somewhere in the chamber, a Cephalix diplomat let out a wheezing sound and dissolved into cognitive vapor. A murmur spread through the council. Delegates shifted. Some recoiled. Others reached for emergency filters. The Xantari scrambled to block transmission nodes. You just destabilized a neural lattice, a council AI projected. That dialect is banned. Not by us, Elias said coolly. Stop at once, ordered a crystalline being shaped like a galaxy cluster. You're engaging in mimetic warfare. We're engaging in conversation. The Galari hissed. Earth cannot invoke the right of voice. That clause was obsolete before your species walked upright. Elias stared. Clause 732.17.14. The right of voice may be invoked by any species subjected to enforced mutism longer than 3 standard galactic cycles. You did that to us. You made the rule. You just forgot it existed. The council was no longer laughing. Elias turned the page. I spent 10 years decoding your secrets. I memorized your idioms, your syntax, your taboos. Every culture has a weak spot. You all assumed we were unworthy. But we were watching. Learning. You think you can defeat us with rhetoric? The Prex roared. Their species, 8 armed war machines engineered for siege and slaughter, stood immune to most cognitive attacks. We are forged for real battle. Then you'll enjoy what comes next, Elias said, voice sharp as a scalpel. Because everything I've said until now? That was just warming up your translators. From the notebook, he drew a single phrase in a tongue so old, so dangerous, most species refused to acknowledge it. He whispered it. And the chamber cracked. Literal reality wavered. One delegate began screaming in fractal tones. Another vanished. Not dead. Just gone. I weaponized sarcasm, Elias said, eyes scanning the council. You downloaded our internet. Our TV shows. You consumed our culture like it was harmless amusement. But every meme, every joke, every contradiction? It taught us how your minds process logic, absurdity, paradox. You laced your media with psychological poison. The Sorvanti gasped. No, Elias said, stepping down. We just talked to ourselves long enough for you to listen too closely. Your threats violate interstellar codes. Still quoting rules, Elias muttered. You made those to contain yourselves. You never imagined us showing up with punchlines that unravel your sanity. The Galari's spores began spinning violently. This is mimetic terrorism. This, Elias said, is just Earth speaking. For the first time. Several delegates disconnected their avatars. Others activated emergency isolation fields. The Prex roared again. You'll regret this. You've exposed your species to annihilation. Elias leaned closer to their projection. We were silent while you laughed. You had your turn. Now it's ours. He turned on his heel. Walked off the dais. The notebook closed behind him with a soft snap. The laughter was gone. And for the first time in Galactic Council history, the only sound in the chamber was silence. And fear. Elias stood just long enough for the silence to tighten around their throats. Then he opened the notebook again. Slowly. Deliberately. The rustle of paper sliced through the silence like a scalpel. You all think I'm bluffing, he said, glancing up. That's fine. You've spent centuries lying to yourselves. What's one more delusion? Council security has been activated, one delegate announced, a translucent spiral of light trembling at its edges. You are in violation of peace protocols. Cease immediately. I've already ceased being impressed, Elias replied, flipping to the next page. You built a galactic order on censorship, containment, and fear. You called it balance. We called it a muzzle. Your species was protected from corruption, hissed the Zevrik, flickering with defensive static. No, Elias said. You just didn't want to hear us speak. He cleared his throat. Then, without ceremony, he spoke a sentence in a dialect the council had tried to erase from all records, a dead tongue spoken only by a race long extinct. One of the crystalline delegates imploded. No fanfare. Just a sharp chime and the sudden absence of presence. Panic surged across the chamber. That was a diagnostic phrase, Elias noted, flipping another page. Just checking who left their reality anchors turned off. The extern delegate, a spiral being of pulsing energy, extended a ripple of protest. You're violating metaphysical neutrality. These dialects are forbidden. By whom? Elias asked. You. You don't even remember what half your own laws mean anymore. I studied them. We all did. And we learned something. You don't fear war. You fear being understood. A blast shield slid into place across one side of the chamber. A dozen species activated isolation barriers. I'm not here to start a war, Elias continued. I'm here to finish the one you've been waging quietly. Through silence. Through rules. Through mockery. You've already destabilized 3 diplomatic species, the Council AI warned. Further acts will trigger countermeasures. Countermeasures like what? Elias asked. Economic sanctions? You've blocked our trade for generations. Tactical strikes? You've tested our defenses since first contact. No, let's be honest, your only real weapon was humiliation. You treated us like a joke. He closed the notebook and tapped it twice. You should have asked why we never responded. A Prex war node blinked into the chamber. It shimmered angular, its voice a mechanical snarl. Human. Identify the source of your dialectic weaponry. Or face planetary engagement. Please do, Elias said. I'm dying to see how many of you survive long enough to regret it. Earth does not have the capacity to resist. We didn't resist, Elias interrupted. We watched. Listened. Learned. You called our culture garbage, TV shows, memes, cat videos, slapstick nonsense. But you kept watching. And without knowing it, you let it in. A tremor spread through the council floor. Several projection nodes flickered. You allowed unrestricted data drift. Elias continued. You wanted to observe us? You observed everything. Our arguments, our stories, our absurdity. You didn't filter. You just absorbed. And we studied the effects. The Sorventi chimed in, translucent tones cutting through the static. What effects? You can't unhear what you've taken in, Elias said. You've internalized contradictions, irony, sarcasm. These things are harmless in isolation, but they aren't in your species. They're toxic. You lack the emotional buffers we evolved with. Ridiculous, someone muttered. Unprovable. Is it? Elias raised a brow. Because I've been running a test. He reached into his coat again and withdrew a slim device. Activated it. A wave of audiovisual pulses swept the chamber, seemingly random sound bites, snippets from Earth's media archives. The Xantari convulsed. Their linguistic matrix fractured mid-sentence. One screamed, another started laughing uncontrollably. The rest disconnected. Elias shut the device off. I turned your translators against you using nothing but dialogue from a sitcom. You know what that means? The Prex War node remained silent. Several delegates initiated emergency withdrawal. One tried to upload a counter-signal. It died mid-cast. Elias stepped forward, eyes calm. You underestimated us. Because you judged us on weapons, not words. You saw our chaos and mistook it for incompetence. But that chaos? It was training. Every contradiction, every meme, every punchline, designed to break something. We just needed time. You've spread a virus. A delegate gasped. No, Elias said. I gave you context. And that's what you couldn't handle. Earth will be quarantined. Another counselor stammered. Too late, Elias said. You already let the virus in. And you can't kill a culture that's already become part of your lexicon. The chamber groaned. Entire sectors went dark. The AI struggled to keep up with the data spiral erupting through its systems. Several counselors attempted to reboot their translators. Too late. The corruption had taken hold. You want to understand what you unleashed? Elias asked, voice rising now for the first time. We turned every insult into fuel. Every silence into a strategy. We grew up being mocked by gods who never looked down long enough to see what we were building beneath their feet. A final ripple passed over the chamber. Elias exhaled. You laughed at us, he said. Now try surviving the punchline. And then, without flourish, without ceremony, he walked away. No one stopped him. They couldn't. The council didn't laugh again. The Prex War fleet broke through Earth's orbit with military precision. 100 ships, lined in the cold geometry of execution, advanced without hesitation. Their intent was clear, swift subjugation. No negotiation. No delay. Status? Elias asked, walking calmly into the Earth Defense Command chamber, where generals stood frozen around a holographic map blinking red. They're jamming civilian comms, said General Vase. Trying to blind us before bombardment. Capital cities are being triangulated for kinetic strikes. They won't fire, Elias said. Not yet. They're Prex, Vase muttered. They don't bluff. They don't have to, Elias replied, opening a secure line. Because we're already inside their targeting systems. He spoke into the line in Prex sub-binary. 4 syllables. Short. Sharp. High above, the flagship's forward guns angled down, then turned violently inwards, targeting their own hull. Explosions scattered through their fleet as auto-defense protocols misidentified friendly signals as threats. Chaos spiraled. Elias didn't smile. Operation Subtitles is live. General Vase stared. That wasn't a command protocol. That was language. It's their language, Elias said. Spoken in a dialect they buried. Their early war scripts were hard-coded with emotional safeguards, logic recursion traps that never got updated. We just spoke the equivalent of your father disapproves. And their fire control AI imploded. The room absorbed that in silence, broken only by the live feed of Prex cruisers colliding mid-turn. It was a slaughter. But no shots were fired from Earth. This was never about war, Elias said. It's about understanding how they break. Another general chimed in. We have authorization to launch counterstrikes. Give us the word. No, Elias said firmly. This isn't over yet. The comm lit up. A Prex signal, cracked and distorted, forced its way into Earth's broadcast. Elias patched it through. A deep voice buzzed through layers of interference. You have dishonored engagement protocol. Identify your commanding species. This is Commander Elias Grieven of Earth, he answered. And you just lost to a sentence. Cowardice, the Prex replied. You corrupt thought. Not fight. We just taught you the consequence of never listening. The line cut. Elias turned to Vase. Prepare contingency 2. They'll go groundside. We need to be ready for physical engagement. You think they'll risk a drop after that humiliation? They'll need to prove they can still hurt something. Hours later, Prex dropships cut through the clouds like spears. They descended on Earth's old orbital defense sectors, mostly ceremonial ruins. They expected to march over relics. Instead, they were met with Earth's misfit units, hybrid commandos, tech scientists, ex-hackers, meme war veterans, and the legendary 404th. The bandwidth bastards. No protocol. No dress code. No mercy. As the Prex disembarked with rigid formation, Earth's response teams were already in motion. Drones swept through their lines, projecting bursts of chaotic visual data, colors, patterns, microbursts of text in reverse dialects. Disorientation swept through Prex ranks. The first gunfight broke out. It didn't last long. A human operative slipped a flash crystal into a Prex commander's neurovisor. The crystal exploded in data, a 30-second loop of synchronized dance videos and emotionally unstable vlogs from a pre-unification influencer named KevKev17. The commander dropped, convulsing. In less than an hour, Earth forces encircled the drop zones. Not with superior firepower. With unrelenting, absurd noise. Elias monitored from orbit, patched into every front. He watched a Prex unit freeze in place when confronted with a children's cartoon redubbed in their mother tongue, using phrases long banned by their empire. One fell to his knees. Another begged the data to stop. They're unraveling, Vase said, almost disturbed. They've never fought an enemy that treated meaning as a weapon, Elias said. They only understand bullets and code. Not intention. They'll retaliate harder. They'll try. A second wave approached. Bigger ships. No comms. No demands. Elias was already waiting. Send the reply, he ordered. One pulse was transmitted. A fragment from a speech recorded 40 years ago by an unremarkable Earth teenager during a school presentation. Translated into Prex. Embedded with the syntactic structure of their war code. It hit like a psychic bomb. The Second Fleet froze in orbit. Their ships didn't fall, but they didn't move either. Locked. Trapped inside a command loop trying to reconcile pride with doubt. Vase turned to Elias. What did you send? Hope, he said. And shame. In their language, they used the same root word. Prex Fleet Command fractured. Multiple ships began transmitting distress calls, old, encrypted codes they hadn't used since before the Empire unified. Earth didn't jam them. It let them transmit. Let them scream. Status? Elias asked calmly. Most of their fleet's inert, Vase said. The rest are either fleeing or asking for extraction. No counter-retaliation? Not unless they want another taste of our sarcasm archive. Elias folded his hands. Then it's time. Time for what? He tapped the final page in his notebook. To speak to the galaxy? They patched him through to the council chamber, now in ruins. Half the species had gone silent. The others were still recovering from Elias' earlier conversation. He leaned into the mic, voice steady. Clear. To all members of the Galactic Council, Earth acknowledges your traditions. Your hierarchy. Your games. We played them. Silently. For generations. You taught us to listen, and we did. He paused. Now you've heard us. Not through missiles. Through meaning. We didn't come to dominate. We came to demonstrate. The power of understanding. The price of arrogance. The inevitability of reckoning. Another pause. If you want peace, speak truthfully. If you want war, remember that we've only just learned how to tell jokes in your language. He ended the transmission. Back in the command room, no one said a word. Elias finally exhaled. Now let's see who still dares to laugh. The council's emergency session began with only half its members present. The rest had gone dark, systems offline, leaders unresponsive, some entire species silent after the mimetic shockwave Earth unleashed. Those still connected didn't speak first. They waited. Watched the screen where Elias Grieven appeared again, calm, upright, unarmed, unshaken. You've lost control of the narrative, he said, breaking the silence. And that scares you more than the warships? The Ixtran representative flickered into full form, a pulsing spiral of fractal light barely holding coherence. We demand the immediate cessation of your weaponized linguistics. You're not in a position to demand anything, Elias replied. This violates the Interstellar Convention on Cultural Containment. So did enslaving 70 minor civilizations through conditional dialect edits, Elias said. Your entire empire runs on controlled vocabulary. You've erased languages that made people inconvenient to rule. You called it governance. I call it a slow lobotomy. We stabilized chaos, said the Sorvanti, appearing as a shimmering gas veil. You created it. You taught us order by force. And then fed on the silence you manufactured. Elias leaned forward. We didn't bring chaos. We showed you the reflection of your own control. Earth just stopped editing the truth. The Galari pulsed with defensive spores. Your information warfare is unsustainable. You've infected systems with recursive nonsense. That's funny, Elias said. Because nonsense is exactly how you dismissed our culture for 2 centuries. A new voice broke in. The Prex war node, repaired but visibly corrupted, buzzed with static. You humiliated us on a philosophical battlefield. No, Elias corrected. You humiliated yourselves by assuming we didn't have one. The council murmured. Some demanded accountability. Others demanded containment. One delegate simply whispered, Delete Earth. Elias remained still. Before you talk about deletion, he said, look at what's already been lost. Do you understand what happened to the Xantari? One joke fractured their caste structure. One meme dissolved their command hierarchy. They weren't just susceptible. They were never real to begin with. Not under scrutiny. He held up a data crystal. You spent eons making yourselves untouchable. But we found the seams. Not with bombs. With questions. With contradictions. With comedy. You never made yourselves strong. You just made sure no one could point at the weak parts. The Ixtran flickered uneasily. You used our own minds against us. No, Elias said. We used your assumptions against you. That's what humans are good at. We learn by breaking things. You never accounted for that. You thought we'd adapt to your standards. We didn't. We mutated. Our culture didn't integrate. It infected. And now, everything you mocked us for, sarcasm, irreverence, emotional contradiction, is destabilizing your foundational logic. The Prex war node buzzed back to life. If this is your victory, it is one of madness. No, Elias said again, flat. Madness would be pretending this isn't your fault. This is just exposure. Council members exchanged encrypted messages behind the feed. Elias didn't interrupt. He knew what came next. One of the neutrals spoke. A soft-voiced member of the Ulii, long known for their role as recorders of history. What is it you want, Commander? Truly. The chamber stilled. The question didn't come with force. It came with weariness. Elias answered without hesitation. Voice. You have it now. Not just mine, Elias clarified. Ours. Humanity's. The freedom to be flawed, loud, untranslatable, inappropriate. We want that. On record. In law. Forever. And if denied? Elias glanced at the crystal in his hand. Then I drop this into the center of the Galactic Library. It contains 5,000 encoded cultural detonations, each one custom-built to fracture specific ideological constructs. They'll spread faster than your censorship protocols. It'll take you decades to clean it up, if you even survive the mental recall. You'd risk war? Someone challenged. We've been at war, Elias said. The only difference now is that we finally chose the battlefield. Another delegate hissed. This is cultural terrorism. No, Elias replied evenly. This is post-traumatic speech therapy. We were gagged for a century and a half. You forgot that language always comes back sharper after silence. He took a breath. Let me be clear. We don't want to rule you. We don't want to dominate you. We just want to speak. As we are. Without permission. Without translation filters. Without your fear of what our voices do to your illusions. No one answered. Finally, the extern emitted a single-pitched tone. The galactic gesture of ancient consent. Other species followed. One by one. Even the Prex. It wasn't unanimous. But it was enough. Elias set the crystal down without activating it. Then we're done. The feed went dead. Back in Earth's control center, Vase turned to him. Was that the plan all along? Elias shrugged. They wanted silence. We gave them echoes. You really think it'll hold? They won't forget this, Elias said. Fear makes excellent memory. He stood, stretched, and walked toward the lift. You going to celebrate? Vase asked. No, Elias said. I've got a comedy show to finish subtitling. Turns out laughter's the deadliest export we've got. The aftermath didn't come with fireworks or speeches. It came with silence, not the fearful kind, but the kind that follows understanding. Galactic channels that once teemed with directives, arrogance, and corrections now paused before broadcasting. Delegations waited before they spoke, measured before they mocked, and listened, truly listened, when Earth responded. Elias returned to Earth without ceremony. No parade. No medal. Just a clean uniform, a functional comm link, and a terminal filled with reports from species requesting cultural exchange protocols. Not treaties. Not trade. Dialogue. Genuine, equal, unfiltered conversation. It was unsettling. Peace always was. He stood in the observation deck at high orbit, watching the last of the Prex fleet limp out of the system. Damaged. Not destroyed. And that was the point. They left on their own, choosing silence instead of escalation. Choosing shame instead of extinction. Transmission incoming, the tech officer said behind him. Who is it? Elias asked. The Sorvantianvo. Requesting access to Earth's full media archive. Unfiltered. Elias raised an eyebrow. Even the reality shows? They specifically asked for them. He hesitated, then nodded. Approve it. Send them season 1 of Interstellar Roommates first. If they survive that, they're ready. He turned back to the viewport. The stars weren't brighter. The galaxy hadn't changed. But how it saw Earth had. Behind him, footsteps approached. General Vase stopped at his side. You're a hard man to explain to people. I'm not here to be explained, Elias replied. They're calling it a doctrine now. Lexicological deterrence. Psychological escalation by cultural saturation. Some want to formalize it as a weapon system. They still don't get it, Elias said. That's not the weapon. The weapon is who we are when we're not pretending to be like them. They'll try to adapt. Copy us. They can try. But that's the problem. You can't copy what you don't understand. And if they try too hard, they'll become what they feared. Vase folded his arms. You think they'll come back? Not all of them left. He handed Vase a datapad. Dozens of flagged subspace messages. Some garbled, some encrypted, but all originated from systems that hadn't spoken in a century. Dead empires. Lost dialects. Species thought extinct. They heard us, Elias said. And now they're answering. Not governments. Not fleets. People. Vase read the messages. A Prex pilot asking if humans cry before battle. A Galari offspring requesting translation help to understand a Terran poem. A extant scholar citing a comedy monologue in a philosophical thesis. You realize what this means? Vase said. Elias nodded. The war's not over. It's just changing shape. You're not worried? I'm human, he said. Worry is how we warm up. A new alert chimed. Not a warning. A request. A diplomatic channel from the Galactic Council, marked urgent but not hostile. Vase raised an eyebrow. Should I answer? No. I'll handle it. Elias walked to the console and opened the channel. The hologram flickered into being. Counselor Tyrax of the Ulii, the historian cast. She bowed her head. We request permission, she said softly. For what? To record the words you used. All of them. The structures, the syntax, the inflections. Not for weapons research. For preservation. He watched her carefully. Why? Because they worked. And anything that effective must be remembered. Not copied. Not deployed. Understood. He thought for a moment, then nodded. You can record them. But not as a strategy. As a warning. To whom? To whoever comes next, Elias said. Whoever thinks silence is control, and difference is danger. Understood, Tyrax replied. And Commander, there's one more thing. Yes? Some of us, we laughed. He let that sit. Good, he said. You were supposed to. The channel closed. Vase chuckled. So what now? Do we issue cultural combat ratings? Certify punchlines as tactical munitions? No, Elias said. Now we keep being ourselves. Loud. Messy. Honest. And we never apologize for it again. Vase looked down at the datapad again. You realize, don't you, that this is just the beginning? They'll start sending emissaries, students, analysts. You might have opened something we can't close. Elias looked at the stars. I didn't come here to close anything, he said. I came to open the mic. That night, Earth's first interstellar cultural broadcast went live. It wasn't a speech or a policy statement. It was a live stream of two humans debating the best pizza topping, intercut with clips from Earth's weirdest game shows. There was laughter. Confusion. Someone vomited on a Prex translation monitor. And still, they watched. Because Earth had spoken. And now, the galaxy couldn't look away.